Welcome to TeachMeAuto.com. In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the fuel pump in this 1999 Chevy Suburban.
Yes, the fuel pump is very critical to the running of your vehicle. It provides high pressure fuel to the fuel injection system, which keeps the engine running. When the fuel pump goes out, you're pretty much dead in the water. So one easy way to check would have somebody go to the back of the vehicle near the fuel tank and then have another person turn the key to the on position. And when you do, you should hear something like this. Now, if it's not working, you'll hear something like this. Now we're going to go over the tools we'll need to do this procedure. We'll need a jack, 2 jack stands, and 2 wheel chocks. Some adjustable pliers, some needle nose pliers, and some wire strippers. Need a screwdriver, an 8mm wrench, a 5/16 socket and ratchet, and a 5/8 socket and ratchet. And here we have a transmission jack that we'll use to support the gas tank as we lower it. We have our new fuel pump. You'll also need to have a Class B fire extinguisher handy, and make sure you don't have anybody smoking or any open flames around your work area. Need a gas can in case you siphon some gas out of the gas tank. We have a drain pan to put the old fuel pump in once you take it out. We have a siphoning tube in case we need to siphon any gasoline. A fluorescent shop light, not incandescent. Some shop towels, and some gloves to protect our hands from gasoline. We also need some electrical tape. We also use this tool from Autocraft for disconnecting the high pressure fuel lines. We have a 5/16 and a 3/8 end. Now if you notice, we've modified this tool slightly with the grinder because of the fins coming out of the fuel lines didn't give us access properly, so we had to make just a small modification here. Now we're going to remove the gas cap to remove any pressure from the fuel tank. Now we're going to raise the hood and locate the fuse relay center and remove the cover. With the cover off, we'll find the diagram that tells us where the fuel pump relay is. Then we'll remove the fuel pump relay. Now we're going to go into the vehicle and crank over the engine a few times to remove any pressure from the fuel lines. And now we're going to remove the negative battery cable. Now we're going to siphon the gas out of the tank. Remember, never to siphon gas out by mouth. You need to make sure you have a container big enough to hold the gas coming out of the tank. This Suburban has a 40-gallon tank, so if it was full, we would need 8 of these containers. Now we're going to put the wheel chocks in front of both front tires. Then we're going to slide our jack up under the rear differential. Once we have the vehicle off the ground, with plenty of room to work under there, we'll position our jack stands. Never work under a vehicle that's not supported by jack stands. Now we're going to loosen up the hose clamp on the filler tube and the vent tube. Then we'll use a screwdriver to kind of loosen up the rubber hose on the filler tube. Be careful not to damage your hose. And then we're working on the vent tube here. Now we're going to move our transmission jack into position under the gas tank. Position the jack so it doesn't interfere with the straps holding the gas tank in position. Now we're going to remove the bolts holding our straps using our 15mm socket and ratchet. Just be patient, these bolts are very long. Once you have the bolt out, we'll slide the strap out of the way. Then we're going to remove the other bolt. Again, once this bolt is removed, we'll take this strap and slide it out of the way. Now we're ready to start lowering our gas tank. As you lower the gas tank, you'll need at least one other person helping you, preferably two. After we lower the gas tank a little bit, we'll go ahead and remove the filler tube and the vent tube. Now we're going to lower it a little bit more. This will give us access to the connections on top of the fuel tank. Remove the electrical connections to the fuel pump, remove the high pressure fuel lines, and any other hoses that are attached to the top of the fuel tank. Now I want to give you a better view of removing the high pressure fuel lines. Obviously we've broken off these connections just so we can show you a little bit better, but now we use our modified tool. We slide around the fuel line, tighten it up, and then we push it all the way in, then we pull it back out. So everything is disconnected from the top of the fuel tank. Go ahead and lower the tank all the way down. With the fuel tank safely on the ground, we're going to use an air hose to clean off all the trash and debris around the lip of the fuel pump. We're doing this so we don't get any trash into the fuel tank. Once we have it clean, we're going to use a pair of snap ring pliers to remove the large snap ring holding the fuel pump in place. When the snap ring is removed, the fuel pump will pop up. Make sure you get your gasket. Take the fuel pump out and we'll place it into our drain pan. Now we're getting ready to install our new fuel pump. The first thing we do is use some fresh motor oil to coat our new gasket with. Then we're going to slide the new gasket up over the fuel pump into position. Then we're going to slide our new fuel pump into the fuel tank. And make sure your electrical connections and the fuel lines are pointing in the right direction. Once we get it in, we'll use our snap ring pliers to position our snap ring. Now you'll notice that your new fuel pump came with a new pigtail for the wiring harness. This is to correct some problems that GM had with these vehicles from the factory. Now your new pigtail will come with instructions on how to wire it up. Here we are, we were cutting off the old pigtail, and now we're getting ready to install our new one. We're stripping off a little bit of the ends using our wiring connectors. We're crimping them down. Now we're going to hook up our new pigtail following the wiring diagram that came with our new fuel pump. Then we're going to go over the wiring diagram that came with our new fuel pump. The small black and white on the pigtail goes to the small black and white on the vehicle. The purple on the pigtail goes to the purple and white on the vehicle. The large gray on the pigtail goes to the large gray on the vehicle. And the large black on the pigtail goes to the large black on the vehicle. Yours should be similar. And also we'll use electrical tape to a little extra security on the electrical connections. Then we're going to slide our gas tank back into position and raise it up about halfway. Then we're going to start reconnecting the other lines up on top of our fuel tank. Using our needle nose pliers, we slide the clamp into place. Now we install our high pressure fuel lines. Make sure you get the large fuel line and the small fuel line on the correct connectors. Then we're going to plug in the electrical connections. First, we'll plug in the electrical connectors for the fuel pump module. And then we'll plug in the electrical connections for the fuel tank pressure sensor. As you raise the fuel tank up, make sure your filler hose and vent hose do not get pinched between the frame and the fuel tank. Make sure they go over the frame. As you raise your tank into position, you can go ahead and attach your fuel filler hose and your vent hose. Make sure the fuel tank is seated properly against the frame. Then we're going to go ahead and reinstall our straps and reinstall the bolts holding the straps into position. We'll start the bolts by hand and we'll tighten them up using our 15mm socket and ratchet. Once we've tightened up the straps, we can lower our transmission jack, reconnect our fuel filler hose, slide our hose clamp into position. We're going to tighten it up with our screwdriver. Then we're going to slide our vent hose into position. And again, we'll use our screwdriver to tighten up the hose clamp. And we'll finish tightening it up using our 5/16 socket and ratchet. Then we're going to reinstall our fuel pump relay, reinstall our cover, reinstall our negative battery cable, put our gas cap back on. We'll use our jack to raise the vehicle up to remove our jack stands. We're going to lower the vehicle back onto the ground. Then we're going to turn the key to the on position and back off 3 times. This is to prime the fuel system. Each time you turn the key into the on position, you should be able to hear the fuel pump kick on. On the 4th time, go ahead and start the engine. Never start the engine in an enclosed garage. Now we're going to turn the engine off, remove the wheel chocks.
Well, we hope this video will help you be able to change the fuel pump in your 1999 Chevy Suburban.
As you can see, this was a pretty complicated task, but Now you can do it, follow our video, but an extra set of hands or two is pretty much necessary.
That's for sure. Well, if you have any comments, you can send those to us, comments@teachmeauto.com.
And as always, thank you for visiting teachmeauto.com and have a great day.